Welcome to the Tonya Hofmann's fabulous TV show. I am so excited that you're here today because this is the fabulous hour for you to change your life and transform the things that you want to transform to make things better and create more success. So I am Tonya Hoffman, and as always, I always have an incredibly fabulous guest star. And today is Barney Kramer. Yay, Barney!
Yay!
So we're going to hear from Barney in just a second. Remember that we would love for you to get involved with the Public Speakers Association. Go to Public Speakers with an S, association.com to find out all the information on how you can go out and change the world from the front of the room. We're also looking for fabulous people to start up every city and every state in the United States right now, and then we're going to go global and to find out more about how you can eat chocolate, drink coffee, get healthy, lose weight, and then look this fabulous with diamond enriched skincare. Go to cravemoretoday.com. cravemoretoday.com, and we have a contest for 2 boxes of probiotic chocolate that is to die for. Alrighty, everybody. So, Barney, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've got going on.
Good morning, Tonya. Frankly, I think I want to talk about the chocolate and all that good sounding stuff.
Right?
One of my favorite topics. So, well, you know what? It's an exciting time for me, Tonya. I've got a lot of things going on. I've been at this business for a while. Of course, I've been in business for the vast majority of my lifetime. But we're working in a field today and in a world today that I think has gotten increasingly difficult and increasingly challenging. And of course, I remember 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago when I was a kid, how everything was going to be so simple as life went on and everything would be automated. We'd have these little short work weeks. And, my little short work week has gone from 40 or 45 or 50 hours to 75 hours. So I guess that's what they meant, but maybe not. So, and I like to look. I'm one of those people where I went to a beautiful event out in Monterey over the weekend. There were several people there from the PSA at the event, and one of the things that we talked about, one of the ladies that presented at the event said that when she was a little girl, she always had this thinking in her mind that there must be a better way to do this. And it's interesting how we can take something in that becomes so much a part of us that we completely forget that we even do it. And I remembered, she triggered a memory that goes back to my childhood where it was part of what drove me and part of what has driven me my entire life, because it doesn't matter what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, I'm always looking for a better way. And I don't even know where that came from. It must be something that God in his genetic composition room poured a little bit of that into me. And what's fascinating about it is that that's the world we live in today. And of course, a lot of what we were doing in this group was to try to learn how do we put a group together that collaborates, because quite frankly, it's the solution to some of the greatest challenges that smaller and medium-sized business have in today's world. And I'll tell you why. What I think is that we work in a world that's probably more challenging, certainly more challenging than it's ever been, and it's that way for a number of reasons. And we don't always sit down and analyze them, but there's really several pieces to it. One of the pieces to it is the increasing complexity, the array of technologies that are there. When you look at, there's not just one way to do what we're doing here this morning. There's a whole number of different ways to do that. We begin to have to figure out how to make it all work. We talk about lighting and about things that I never cared about the lighting. The lighting was what it was. So not just because we're in this business, but it's that's just an example. Which one of the apps that we decide to use for our marketing purposes? Do we use ClickFunnels? Do we use inbound marketing, outbound marketing, content marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And all of those things are decision points, and the decision points are, quite frankly, they really do almost, there's only one or two ways to make that, and that's hopefully with the advice of some sort of a mentor and expert, and or to be able to do it trial and error. And regrettably, some of this stuff for me has been through trial and error. And that's a very uncomfortable way to do it. And of course, it can be very expensive, and some of it has been very expensive. We look at the regulatory volume in this world today, and every year, I forgot the number of laws that are enacted, but at one time it was like 50,000 new laws and regulations nationwide, and that's been 30 years ago, so I have no idea what it might be. All of that is stuff that affects what we do in business, and it takes time, and again, it takes knowledge that most of us don't possess. And when you start looking at other things like the volume of information, which is along the same lines, which tool do I take? I know I personally researched a marketing tool, and I must have spent almost a year deciding what to do with it, and then made the wrong choice because I wasn't able to match my particular skills to the time and the energy that it was going to take to make that particular product efficient.
Yeah.
And then we couple all those things. The end result of all of that is that our margins begin to shrink, and they begin to shrink. I know there's the Googles and some of those people who are, frankly, I don't think there's a bigger schism uh, uh, ever than what we have now between the rich and the not so rich in life, and they're making huge giant pools of money, and the vast majority of people now have less incomes than they've had for a number of years, and that's no accident. All of these things feed to that, and of course, the end result of that is that we can't just. I run some pretty good sized businesses without having to have 20 people to help me figure out what to do. I have
Yeah.
no. We were talking the other day. You look at something like engineer. How do I manage an IT department when about all I know about IT is how to spell it? And maybe not quite that bad, but I certainly am not capable when they start bringing me decisions like the old days and being able to say, this is what we need to do. And of course, all those pieces start to interact with each other. And as
Right.
they begin to do that, we start realizing that we've got to run different kinds of company. And the very last piece of the challenge, I guess, before we talk a little bit about the collaboration as being the solution, is the fact that guess who gets the very best talent out there? It's not me, and it's not my associates, generally speaking. And I want to tell you, some of us are very, very talented. In fact, I think most people that go into the kind of businesses that we work in, Tonya, are people that are exceptionally talented. But when we start looking for a third party to come to work for us or to become, however we were going to do that, we start finding out that they're already working for the biggest companies. They're working for the Googles. They're working for what's the one, Apple. They're working for Gallo Winery, and you name the companies out there. When you start trying to hire them, frankly, it's pretty much we can't give them the 40-hour work weeks. We can't do some of the things. We don't have the perks, and so we really do have to say, how do we build a business with all these difficulties involved in it, and still be able to compete? Because if you're not really sharp at what you do, uh, you get clobbered out in the marketing world, if nothing else today. We don't. Procter and Gamble 4 years ago spent $4 billion doing what we're doing on it, and I know Coca-Cola has a $2 billion budget set up for 2020 for content marketing, which is just which is an evolving products. And so you can just see with some of that where we really are with challenges.
Right.
And one of the things that I've found in my own business, and it's right where I'm at today, is that, and when we start with that technical part, what you really do when you begin to bring people together, you take the very best of people who are really, really talented, and you start saying, okay, I don't need to have somebody full-time as my marketing guru, but I certainly have to have that high level of expertise. And the best way I can get that high level of expertise is to go outside my own organization.
Right.
And I listened to it, and it's interesting how narrow we can split these different products and services that we provide. And I listened to a speaker talk about just exactly this subject over the weekend. He talked about how we've gone from the great big old huge manufacturing plants to a lot smaller organizations, and we're simply not going to have that hierarchy that we've had. It had layers and layers of expertise. And some of that's because it moves so fast. I mean, the person that was your very talented, gifted person in this area today, the technology goes stale. or is replaced by the disruptors that we get talking about. So we have to find a better way to do that, and we can't be that fluid and that flexible quickly enough. And what and as I'm first listening to him, I'm looking at this person as a direct competitor to my own business skills and consulting skills and leadership skills. And the more I listen to him, I realize that what we were, in fact, I'm going to do a speaking event. I thought, gee, this is somebody I would love to have as a speaker. And the more he talked, he began to talk himself out of my invitation. And yet when we got done with it, and when I thoroughly understand it, I realized that we were not competing whatsoever. What he was talking about is what I like to call the process of leadership and not the people piece of leadership. And while they're close, they're a world apart in what you're really doing. So at the end of that event, I realized he wasn't competition at all, but rather than being competition, he would be somebody that's beautiful to work with. And the reason is he's basically marketing his products and services to the same end user that I am. And that's somebody that's in leadership, in management, in business, and is fighting the same struggles that we're talking about here today. So he was anything but a competitor. And I thought it was absolutely fascinating. And of course, one of the toughest challenges that we have is in that whole marketing world. And as for me, I've just brought on, or I haven't brought it on yet, but I'm fairly comfortable about somebody who contacted me that actually came through one of my classes, is highly skilled in marketing and development, actually functioned as a CFO and a CTO with a pretty good sized company in the Bay Area, and liked what she saw, liked what I delivered, and said, would you be interested in partnering with me? I've got a new app that I want to put out that's directly addresses what you're trying to do. And so I'm at a pretty exciting time where I'm starting to say, hey, I don't have to be all things to all people. I've been a solopreneur before, and I've been an entrepreneur, and I've been, I guess, the next step up but certainly an entrepreneur most of my life. And it meant that I had to have lots of expertise in lots of different areas. And while I still think that's important for me to have that big overall picture, I no longer believe, or at least I have enough general knowledge to be able to understand maybe not how to sit down and actually put the email marketing campaign together because of the tech, because of all the stuff that goes into that. But I certainly know what result I want. I want to know, I know when I'm getting to the result I want. And so I think, so I've taken that, and I've got two other groups right now where people have come to me and said, hey, what you're doing is perfect. Are you interested in joining us? So, I think we're working in a world where we're bringing this super talent together, and we're bringing it in ways that fit together. And I think it's going to be the future of what most businesses do. And even in the big business, you can see companies like the Apples and the Googles. It's nice to think that they do every part of their operation, but I can tell you that they're all looking for how do we let this person be an expert. I mean, I wouldn't begin to want to try to do what you do, Tonya. I have a deep respect for your knowledge of the industry of speaking. And in fact, I listened to a speaker. Matter of fact, yeah, you know who it is, but I listened to a speaker the other night. He said, I love what we do because we learn how to speak in the context of our business talking. And I've been a Toastmaster, and there's a lot of good things in it, but it's very, very different from what we do. Speaking in itself is the business, and it's the business, and yet you take somebody that speaks really well and also has different kinds of talents. It's like the next event that I'm going to do as a speaker. I'm bringing people in, half a dozen people, it looks like at this point, possibly 7. They all have skills that fit. It's like pieces of the puzzle. And at the end of the day, those 6 or 7 speakers will have presented a pretty comprehensive picture of how you build the business in today's times. Right. And of course, out of that, they're going to have a discussion about the power of collaboration.
Exactly.
So,
it's so
yeah, you see it, and to me, it's reinvigorated me because I could go back 2 years ago and say, bro, this is really, I left a pretty successful business. spun it off to a couple of ex-partners because I wanted to do this. My passion was to be able to help people find that better way to do what they're doing. And that comes from lots of things, not just technical training and education, but it comes from a lifetime of experience actually doing that rather than just preaching the theory of it. And then I'm looking at that and I realized that I had a real task and a real challenge in front of me. And that's about the time I started reaching out to some of the people that we both know, and Tony Wilkins was one of them, and Tony led me to you, and I've been thrilled with that. And so I see myself all of a sudden, I've got a great group of, it's a support system, and it's that support system that I can literally go to when I'm frustrated with something that isn't working and it's not getting the result, and I find out, we had a conversation about something outside of our direct relationship about a little group that as it turned out, I disbanded the group this week on it. I had 5 people that were not on the same path. And again, that's part of how, when you decide that collaboration, and I think it's a decision if you're looking how to survive in business, that you really need to take a deep look at that instead of saying, I can do it all myself, which was my attitude. But you need to have people that have the same common goals and the same values and belief, because frankly, if you can't, my old question, and I've asked it all my life when I was hiring people directly, is this somebody I can work with?
Right.
And so do they have the technical skills? And in that question is, are they going to be there when they're supposed to be there? Are they going to be on the phone call? Are they going to show up? Is what they're doing going to be delivered to me on the right time, or is it going to be late? Can I reach them when I really got a problem? And I'm not a guy that cries wolf, but I want to know that I can connect if really necessary. And in my emails, I do that. Hey, I really need to talk to you. And I'd never cry wolf, but when I ask, I really need some help. And so,
So, do
go
you
ahead.
have something that you would like to offer our incredible listeners today?
Yeah, I absolutely do. There's a webinar that I've got ready to go next Wednesday, and I've done something a little different with this, and frankly, it's a new product application, not a new application, but it's something I've just brought into the house because I think it's going to give me a more comprehensive way of hanging on to the prospects and leads and the clients that I have out there, and sustain that relationship in a way it's not easy to do. And it's walks you through the half a dozen steps that everybody has to master if you're going to expect to be successful in leading a business and a group of people. And a group of people can be the collaboration. I mean, we can cross that over, and it's next Wednesday morning, and it will be from 11 to 11:45, and you can get the access information. It's a free webinar, and I've done it rather than just take one piece. I want to give it as a summary, and out of that summary, I'm going to give uh, a takeaway. And in one instance of that takeaway, I've seen it again and again and again have almost an instant value over 6 figures, and that comes as a direct result of some very simple things that they do. And so every one of those is going to have a takeaway that you can instantly see as I describe that takeaway in the situation and the fact pattern on, you're going to be able to take all 6 of those back to the business and say, man, I wish I would have done this last month. And I've never seen it not work that way, where at least 3 or 4 of those didn't have an instant return. So again, www.smra1.com is the website. You go directly to that, or Barney, Barney, at smra1.com, and I'll get you right to the link on it.
And if they're watching the recording, how will they get a hold of that information?
I'll send them a landing page that they can just pop right on and sign up through that. So, and then record, and it has in fact, it'll be a Zoom meeting just like we're doing here, and it'll be this strictly audio, but I haven't decided yet. I'll probably just convey the audio to the audience as well. And so I'm looking forward to it. I've already got some signups and quite a few of them actually, and so I'm excited about it.
Awesome. So that's Wednesday, May 17th. And
Mhm.
if you're listening to the recording, then jump on and listen to the recording. So
Mhm.
fabulous. Well, thank you for being on the show today, Barney. We definitely want you to come back.
My pleasure. I'm always I always have fun on your shows because I know that it's what I preach. I like to have it has to be an enjoyable experience. We don't have to make drudgery out of learning, and so I love the commonality. This is let's have some fun and learn something.
Perfect. All righty, everybody. So join us again for another great TV show with the Tonya Hofmann's Fabulous TV show and get connected to Barney and to myself. See you.
Yay!